Breaking news: to bring the total number of Russian troops to around 1.32 million, Putin has ordered an additional 170,000 soldiers. As Moscow's military action in Ukraine enters its 22nd month, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the country's military to increase the number of troops by nearly 170,000, bringing the total to 1.32 million. Putin's order was issued by the Kremlin on Friday and went into effect right away. With 1,320,000 troops and 1,200,000 civilians, the total number of Russian military personnel is approximately 2,200,000. Putin makes a jaw-dropping offer to new recruits as Russia desperately seeks to bolster its failing military. There has been another military buildup like this since 2018. With the prior increase of 137,000 soldiers, which Putin had ordered in August 2022, the military strength was approximately 1,150,000 troops and 2 million personnel. According to a statement from the Defense Ministry, the order does not suggest a significant expansion of conscription. Instead, the increase would be implemented gradually through the recruitment of more volunteers. The reasons given by the Ministry for the Army's reinforcement were the growth of NATO and what it referred to as the special military operation in Ukraine, near Russia's borders. NATO is bolstering its armed forces by deploying more strike weapons and air defense systems. The statement stated that NATO's tactical nuclear forces are being enhanced. It is reasonable to respond to the aggressive activities of the NATO bloc with a reinforcement of Russian forces, the ministry stated. According to Finland's Minister of European Affairs Anders Adlercreutz, Russia's efforts to overflow the Finnish border with migrants are deliberate, cynical, hybrid actions that aim to cause unease and dissatisfaction. This isn't about trying to flood the border with people, Adlercreutz stated in a Thursday interview. This hybrid action is seen as a tool that it can use whenever it feels it's appropriate or needed, and it's a proof of concept that makes us aware of that. Claims that Russia was encouraging asylum seekers to cross into the EU and NATO country prompted Finland to close its border with Russia entirely for 2 weeks beginning on Tuesday. The situation has calmed down, with almost no traffic at the border since then, according to Adlercreutz, who cited this as further proof that the actions were intentional. According to Adlercreutz, there were clear indications of it being systematic, organized, such as migrants arriving in groups with similar equipment and sharing stories about their crossing. However, he did note that the number of migrants, at around 1,000 in the past 2 weeks, was not large enough to overwhelm Finland's resources. According to Adlercreutz, they observed migrants swiftly making their way toward the open borders as Finland began to close its border crossing points. This, he said, indicates that somebody has information about the decisions, our actions, and they were already prepared to counteract them. This was before the total closure was announced. Last week, the Finnish newspaper Iltalehti reported that, with the assistance of the Kremlin's security services, Russian embassies have begun issuing visas to individuals from the Horn of Africa so that they can enter Russia and continue their journey to the Finnish border. Moscow maintains that the allegations are false. Adlercreutz did not verify the claim, but he did state that Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan were among the most prevalent countries of origin. After Finland joined NATO in response to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, tensions between the two countries grew. Russian President Vladimir Putin led the invasion. The current situation at the Russian-Finnish border is reminiscent of a comparable crisis that occurred 2 years ago, when Poland claimed that the government of Belarus was encouraging migrants from the Middle East to cross into Poland, Latvia, and Lithuania in order to put pressure on the European Union. As the 22nd month of the invasion of Ukraine by Moscow continues, the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, ordered the country's militaries to increase the number of soldiers by nearly 170,000. For a total of 132,000, while the invasion is underway. No sextifira, o Kremlin divulgu o decreto de Putin, que entro em vigor imediatamente. Increased the total number of Russian military personnel to approximately 2.2 million, including 1.3 million soldiers, desde 2018, a segunda vez que o exercito se expande. nearly 2 million efectivos y cerca de 15 million soldados foram os militares conta com o aumento interior de 137,000 soldados, que foi ordenado por Putin agosto de 2022. The Ministry of Defense stated that the order does not involve any significant expansion of recruitment, stating in a communique that the increase would occur gradually through the recruitment of more volunteers. A operação militar especial na Ucrânia e en expanso de OTAN foram mencionadas pelo Ministério como causas do aumento. The Russian reinforcements were a suitable response to the aggressive activities of the OTAN bloc, the ministry said. To guarantee the fulfillment of the tasks that guarantee the security of Russia, stated Sergei Shoigu, Russia's defense minister, in December. Quando os militares alcançaram esse tamanho, ele não diz, tempestades de uma vitória rápida sobre o seu vizinho foram destruídas pela feroz resistência ucraniana, que alterou o cálculo que o Kremlin já considerava suficiente ao longo das hostilidades persistentes, a quantidade das baixas militares russas e ucranianas não foi determinada. According to American estimates, the number of casualties is significantly higher than what the Russian military has confirmed, which is just over 6,000. In October, the UK Ministry of Defense stated that Russia probably suffered between 150,000 and 190,000 casualties permanently, a figure that included soldiers who were permanently wounded or killed. Russian authorities made several attempts to rally the army. In August 2022, Putin ordered a 1.5 million manpower increase to the Russian armed forces starting from January 1, 2023. A mobilização de 300,000 reservistas foi ordenada no mês seguinte para fortalecer suas forças na Ucrânia. Como parte da força militar atual, esse número é contado o decreto de mobilização que Putin fez permite que os militares solicitem reservistas adicionais quando necessário, mesmo que ele diz que não houve necessidade de reunir mais. Additionally, this decree forbade volunteer soldiers from rescinding their contracts. A campanha está sendo lançada todo o Russia com o propósito de recrutar mais homens para o alistamento. Os anuncios veo prometendo benefícios dinheiro, os recrutadores fazendo ligacos neos solicitadas para homens elegíveis e os escritórios de recrutamento parceria com universidades e agências de serviço social para atratar estudantes e desempregados. Em vez de uma missão militar, alguns relatos de mídia e organizações de direitos humanos afirmam que as autoridades russas também proporcionam anistia aos prisioneiros, assim como esses esforços. O recrutamento regular solicita entre 120,000 e 140,000 homens duas vezes ao ano para período obrigatório de serviço. Os selecionados para o serviço obrigatório não serão encaminhados à Ucrânia, segundo as autoridades, deveria ser encaminhado ano no exercito todos os homens russos que possuam idade compreendidas entre 18 e 27 anos. Mas muitas pessoas evitam o recrutamento devido a problemas saúde ou as adiamentos obrigatórios aos ser estudantes nas universitários. Particularmente em Moscovo e outras grandes cidades, o percent de homens que evitam o recrutamento é elevado. Antes de 1 de janeiro deste ano, as autoridades elevaram ao 30 anos o limite máximo de idade para o serviço obrigatório. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, has taken a firm stance on the need of a substantial military reform in the midst of a tense and persistently conflicting atmosphere. In order to change the country's approach to troop recruitment and service conditions, Zelensky is actively working with his military commanders and the Defense Ministry, recognizing the importance of both quantitative and qualitative considerations within the mobilization framework. These discussions reflect a conscious effort to push the Ukrainian forces towards greater efficiency and preparation in the next year, in an environment where military effectiveness depends on a balance between strategy and resource management. The task of building a welcoming and resilient army is more important than ever before, especially in light of the military movements of neighboring Russia. In a related measure, Russian President Vladimir Putin has issued a decree to reinforce the Russian armed forces, a numerical increase spurred by military threats and concerns over the expansion of the OTAN. Russian plans to cover these expanded ranges through contracts instead of increasing the subscription, demonstrating different recruitment strategies between the two nations. Meanwhile, on the Ukrainian front, reports indicate an unyielding defense against Russian advances, with strategic confrontations and prohibitions highlighted in places like the Zaporizhia region, where Ukrainian military efforts have been tenacious. Los sistemas de defensa aérea de Ucrania ha sido subrayados, gracias a la capacidad de la Fuerza Aérea Ucraniana, que ha derribado una abrumadora mayoría de drones enemigos de la comunidad internacional se mantiene alerta mientras ambas partes continúan adaptando y ajustando sus enfoques y estrategias militares. The unfolding events in Ukraine and the surrounding regions capture a broader narrative of resistance, strategic skill, and the unyielding spirit of a nation in retreat. Common questions based on the Article 1. ¿Cómo está el presidente ucraniano Zelensky abordando las reformas militares? Working with his military commanders and the Ministry of Defense, President Zelensky is implementing substantial military reforms in an effort to change Ukraine's approach to troop recruitment and service conditions. Why are these military reforms in Ukraine necessary? These military reforms are necessary to make the Ukrainian forces more efficient and prepared, especially considering the tension and conflict in the region. 3. ¿Cuáles fueron las medidas implementadas por el presidente Putin de Rusia respecto a las amenazas militares y a la expansión de la OTAN? Putin ha firmado un decreto con el propósito de aumentar la cantidad de fuerzas armadas rusas, y así mediante contratos o un aumento en la conscripción, para cubrir los rangos. 4. ¿Cómo se hace en relación a la tierra entre Ucrania y Rusia? Después de intensos enfrentamientos en áreas como la región de Zaporizhia, Ucrania ha mantenido una fuerza aérea ucraniana que ha eficazmente contrarrestado a los drones enemigos. What is the international community's reaction to the military actions in Ukraine? 5. As Ukraine defends itself and employs its strategic skills in the conflict, the international community remains vigilant and closely watches the events unfolding. Glossary in Jirga terms definitions changes and improvements made to a country's military structure, policies, or procedures. This is military reform. Mobilization plan, el método o sistema que un país implementa para organizar, evaluar y preparar sus fuerzas militares para el servicio. Numerical growth, an increase in the number of personnel within the ranks of the military. A person must be legally enrolled in order to enlist in the national armed forces. Actions taken to interrupt or disrupt enemy supply lines or military operations are known as strategic prohibitions.